Jackson. How's it going, Jason?
What's up, man? How you doing?
I'm all good. All good on this Tuesday afternoon, evening.
Yeah, cool.
I'm going to let a couple people trickle in and then, kind of get things rolling. You excited for the
Sounds good.
game for tonight?
Tomorrow night, game four. Come on, you're in the sports biz. You got it. Tonight's the baseball all-star game. Tomorrow is game four of the finals.
You tuned into the home run derby last night?
I caught a little bit of it, and I saw a lot of the highlights. The home run derby is always, to me, more exciting than the all-star game itself in baseball.
I'm going to agree with you there.
Yeah.
All right, well, looks like, we have a good amount of people in, so I'm going to, get things rolling here. Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to Season 2, Episode 2 of the Syracuse Sport Business Conference Digital Series. My name is Connor Silva. I'm the president of the SSBC and will be moderating today's episode. We're thrilled to bring on Jason Zone Fisher as our second guest of the season. A little bit about him. In high school, he got his start in sports media, co-hosting the Browns Blitz, a two-time Emmy-nominated weekly program where Jason interviewed Cleveland Browns players and coaches. And then following graduation from Syracuse University in 2006, Jason formed his own production company, In the Zone Productions, and directed, wrote, and produced Swing State, a documentary that took a close look at Ohio's political culture and its effect on presidential elections. Since then, Jason has worked as a host, spokesman, producer, and creative consultant for major brands, including Gillette, Nestle's Butterfinger, Esurance, Progressive, Pizza Hut, Heineken, MasterCard, and many, many more. He's produced TV shows for TNT, History Channel, Sci-Fi, CNBC, USA Network, and Jason has hosted Coaster Quest for Travel Channel and Tailgate 48 for the Big Ten Network. Recently, Jason has been hosting a show on Twitch called The Mavs Vault, where he speaks with different players, coaches, and personnel in and around the Dallas Mavericks. He also has a weekly podcast with NBA legend Baron Davis. Jason, welcome to the show, and thank you for being here.
Oh, thanks for having me. Thanks for that long intro and bio. I appreciate it. All the greatest hits there. And thank you to everyone who's joining and tuning in right now. What's up? I see some friends. My buddy Dicker is here. Some other people. What's up, everybody? A lot of Cuse alumni. I'm rocking my Syracuse shirt right now from my freshman year, national championship, Carmelo Anthony.
That was a fun time to be at Cuse. Yeah, busy man. I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to hop on with us. I guess let's get right into it. So kind of going back, right out of school, you've explained to me a little bit. When you graduated, had a conversation, with your dad. He's interested to see where you're going to take your career after this Syracuse education. You kind of explained to him that your career / job hasn't really been invented yet. I guess. Could you kind of speak, to that uncertainty, but how attacked it head on and created / began, this amazing career that you've had for yourself so far?
Oh, well, yeah. Thanks so much, man. It feels like just yesterday that I graduated Syracuse. I see some friends from college here today joining us right now. So what's up? What's up, Jess? What's up, everybody, for being here? I was a broadcast journalism major at Newhouse, and I loved it. It's a great program, a great school, as you know firsthand. But they taught me how to do the local news. And there's nothing against the local news. I watch it. It's important, but it's often really depressing. It's a lot of house fires, murders, and car crashes. And I knew that it wasn't exactly what I wanted to do for a living, but that I could hopefully take everything that I learned from this Newhouse education and from their network and apply it to whatever it is I wanted to do. And as you mentioned, my dad said to me when I graduated, "Congrats, now what? What do you want to do with the rest of your life?" I said, what I want to do hasn't been invented yet. I'm going to try to invent it myself. And I've kind of done that over the last decade or so since I've graduated Syracuse and blazing my own path. I made that documentary film. I started it 5 days after graduating college, shot 250 hours of footage, edited it down to a 90-minute film, and hustled getting into film festivals and then got a distribution deal. And really, I always say it was better than going to film school. I really taught myself every part of the process. And then work begets work. You put yourself out there and also show that, I was dedicated and devoted and I could actually make something happen and have a movie, it opened a lot of doors to get me recognized as I kind of began my career path from there. But as you mentioned in sort of my intro and bio, I'm very lucky that I've had a lot of really fun, really crazy experiences that I never could have even imagined were possibilities when I first graduated from Newhouse, way back in 2006.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, busy man, have done some really cool things. From your beginnings at the Brown Blitz, being a frequent face around the NBA, different major brands across the country. What is it about yourself that has enabled you to kind of land these, sponsorships slash, be the face of some of these, the biggest brands in the country?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, I think it's more than anything is my hustle and my follow through. Like, you have to be talented to prove that you belong, but I do anything to try to get my foot in the door. And then once you have your foot in the door, you have to prove that like you're really good at what you are providing, whether it's hosting, broadcasting, interviewing, producing, directing, any skill set. But you can be the most talented person in the world, and if no one knows that, it doesn't matter. So I'm pretty good, pretty organized when it comes to networking, hustling, following up, following through, connecting. When I first moved to Los Angeles, where I'm currently based, I knew maybe 10 people that lived out here. And I spent the first week or so meeting with those 10 people, telling them about myself, my story, and also my goals, what I wanted to do, and asking those 10 people one thing: is there one person that you know, someone in your network who you think, after knowing more about me, it would be valuable for me to connect with? And those 10 people turned into 20 people, turned into 40 people, and 80. And this spreadsheet I used for the first few years that I lived in LA got up to over 700 people, because it wasn't just about first meeting someone, it was also about staying organized on when to follow up and follow through. And they said they connect me to that person, and really having some sort of system that I created for myself to keep it all organized. And I think that so many opportunities just came from that hustle and that organization, that persistence, that follow through. And it's something that anyone can do. I mean, it comes maybe a little more naturally to me than it does for others, but build a system and put it in place for you that works for you. And I really think that is how so many opportunities that I've had have just come from that hustle.
Yeah. And you kind of just touched on it there, how big networking is in, any industry, but especially the sports industry. I'm curious, what do you think your biggest networking plays have been? And I would hope you touch on your relationship with Adam Silver a little bit as well.
Yeah, totally. Well, I mean, when I first graduated college from Syracuse, using Newhouse and their resources there were really valuable. I'm sure they've updated the system and the process. It was like an old school computer, but you could print out, look up based on people's majors or cities and this database. I'm sure they have an even better version of that now, but that was incredibly helpful jumping off point to just introduce myself, send emails, meet with people, and you'd be surprised how many people are willing to give you some time just because of that Syracuse connection, or you just find that like mutual friend or mutual connection, and it really can open a lot of doors. So that I started there. You alluded to Adam Silver. I mean, that is, networking, but that's definitely more my hustle. It's a pretty fun story. So as you mentioned, I've worked with a lot of different brands. I was the spokesman for Nestle Butterfinger Candy Bar. This was like 7 or 8 years ago, when I was traveling around the country making comedy videos for Nestle Butterfinger Candy Bar. And I was in 25 cities over 6 weeks. And I would have 2 days off every week. It would just happen to fall in whatever random city I was at the time. So I had 2 days off one week in Kansas City. And Kansas City, it's a fun city, great barbecue. I had barbecue breakfast, lunch, and dinner the first day. But the second day, I decided, I'm a huge NBA basketball fan. The finals were going on about 7 hours away in Oklahoma City, game 2 between the Miami Heat and the Oklahoma City Thunder. So I got in my giant Butterfinger truck and I drove 6-7 hours to Oklahoma City for game 2 of the finals. I didn't have a ticket, but you got to put yourself in the right place, the right time, figure it out, and believe. So I did that, and I got there a couple hours before the games and shaking hands. I'm passing out Butterfingers. 5 minutes before the game starts, I meet a girl. She has an extra ticket to Game 2 of the finals. I give her $100 for it, which is pretty unheard of to get a regular season ticket for that amount. And I go in, I go to my seat. I'm in the last seat in the entire building. So, like, I'm happy to be there, but I can't see anything. I'm up in the rafters. I'm taking pictures of the crowd, just trying to zoom in, see if there's an open seat, because, like, I don't know, I can't sit up here the whole game. And I think I see one seat in the second row behind where the announcer sits. So in the second quarter, I walk around the main concourse. I get a hot dog and a beer so that my hands are full and I can't reach for my ticket. I see the usher. I see her name tag. I don't hesitate. Confidence is key. I'm like, Yolanda, you look good. Have you lost some weight? Oh, my God, we're going to win it all. I love you. Go Thunder. And I go all the way down to my courtside seat. And now I'm sitting courtside at the NBA Finals for $100 when 7 hours ago I'm in Oklahoma City. Life is good. I'm like living it to the fullest. I can't believe this. And I'm sitting there about 30 minutes until I feel a tap on my shoulder and someone says, excuse me, you're in my seat. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. There must be a mistake. I start fumbling, looking for my ticket. And I turn, I'm just trying to buy some time, find a new seat, make a new plan. And I turn, I see 10 rows up on the aisle, David Stern, the commissioner of the NBA at the time, getting up to go to the restroom. So without hesitating, I walk directly to his seat and sit in the commissioner's seat. Sitting next to him is Adam Silver, the deputy commissioner at the time. Not as many people knew who he was. And before he has a chance to be like, what the hell are you doing? I say, Mr. Silver, I'm a huge fan of yours. The second round of the NBA draft is my favorite time of the entire season. The way he pronounces European draft picks boggles my mind. He chuckles. I'm like, my name's Jason Zone Fisher. I'm a diehard, passionate NBA basketball fan. I've been passionate about the game since I was a kid, growing up in Cleveland with Mark Price, Brad Daugherty, Larry Nance. I traveled 7 hours to be here tonight for this game, traveled the country with Butterfinger. Here's some Butterfinger coupons. He was like, who are you? What are you talking about? And I took that as an opportunity to tell him more about myself, what I've done. And I sat there for about the next 10, 15 minutes, thanked him for not calling security on me. I gave him my business card, his reflex. He gave me his card back. And I followed up and followed through. I sent him an email the next morning because I knew it would be fresh in his mind and just said, it was great meeting you. Thanks again. And then I didn't talk to him for about 2 months. And then I was in New York City. I was hosting some events for the U.S. Open tennis tournament. And I found that same email chain. And this is a bit of advice where it's like, if you meet someone, follow up the next day, because then I could just pick up where I left off, as opposed to being like, hey, remember 2 months ago when I met you at this game? I had this like recollection and acknowledgement from him. So I followed up on that same email chain. I said, in this email to Adam Silver, I said verbatim, at the risk of losing all humility, I know that at some point in my career, I'm going to work with you in the NBA. It's a lifelong goal of mine. I feel myself inching closer towards it every day. If you'd spend 5 minutes to sit down, get to know me better, I'd really appreciate it, but trust me, it'll be worth your time. He responded within 2 minutes. He was like, Jason, of course I remember you. I'm still eating Butterfingers because of you. I leave for the Olympics soon. It's going to be tough. I'll see if I can make some time. I got a calendar invite from his assistant for a meeting from 11 to 11:10 a.m., a 10-minute meeting. That's all right. You got to be specific. Asked for 5. I showed up. We hit it off. He made a phone call. He canceled his next meeting. He made another call, brought in the head of marketing, head of social media for the NBA. And as you know, Adam Silver became commissioner about a year after that. And we've still become good friends in this relationship. And I've done a lot of work with the NBA. And, you know, there's a lot of morals to that crazy story. But I could have spent a day off from this gig that I was working really hard in Kansas City. But instead of just chilling, I decided to put myself in the right place, right time, make something happen. I didn't have tickets. And then even once I got into the arena, I could have been content sitting up in the last row. But I pushed it, and I don't know. I mean, I guess I got a lot of chutzpah and no shame, no fear. But it's, you know, that hustle pays off. It's about creating opportunities out of nowhere sometimes. And that's what I was able to do, create a relationship, a friendship, and as people are commenting, persistence. Persistence is key, just like following up, following through. And now I've hosted 4 of the last 5 NBA All-Star weekends, been an MC, host a lot of shows with the NBA, do a ton of work. Just this last week, I was hosting their NBA Twitter Spaces, do interviewing media day, Chris Paul and Chris Middleton and Brooke Lopez from the finals. And you know, all of this is just a testament to the hustle, I think, you know.
Yeah, as Jack Adler said, more of the story, try to sneak into better seats at NBA games. NBA
yeah, exactly.
But yeah,
steal the right seats.
Yeah, Jack's got it all figured out. You know, like you said, persistence is key, and, you know, finding those opportunities is key. And, some of the things you've done, I believe it was the Gillette best summer job ever. If you could kind of speak on that, because I think it was that one where you had one day to put something together with your friend.
Yeah.
If speak to that, because that's impressive, especially seeing thousands of applicants are vying for this very exciting, amazing role. If you could just kind of talk about that.
Yeah, for sure. Well, as you mentioned, I've worked with a lot of different brands, and it all started by winning a contest. This was way back in 2010. I had just moved to Los Angeles, and a buddy sent me an email and said, "Hey, you should check this out. I think you'd be right for it." I'm like, "Okay, I'll check it out." It was a contest that Gillette, the razor company, was having, looking for two friends, two guys, to travel around the country making comedy videos for Gillette. But I read all that. It sounded amazing. I was like, we're perfect for this. We can do this. But the deadline was the next day, and they already had thousands of video submissions. And most people, I feel like, would have been like, damn, well, oh well, it's like, I'll get him the next time. But I called up my buddy Adam, a friend of mine from Syracuse, actually, and I said to him, I was like, this sounds crazy, but we're going to enter and win this contest. So we put together a video submission. We edited it that day. We submitted it, and we were chosen as one of 5 finalists in the country. Our video was. We were flown to New York City for this live final event. A panel of celebrity judges: John Cena, Aaron Andrews, and Tony Parker, and about 500 people in the audience. And we ended up winning the competition, the Gillette Ultimate Summer Job, where I'm embarrassed to say we got paid a lot of money to be driven around America in a Gillette tour bus, go to 25 cities in 6 weeks, and just be all access at every major summer event, creating content for the brand, from backstage at the ESPY Awards to on the field at the Baseball All-Star Game, to driving NASCARs at the Brickyard 400, to spending a day in the dugout with Derek Jeter at Yankee Stadium, leading the Patriots out of the tunnel and doing the coin toss in midfield for a game. Like, every day was like this for 6 weeks. It was mind-boggling. And another lesson there was just like, this was a contest, a crazy thing, and the odds were stacked against us, but I didn't care. I just went for it, and we ended up winning. And when that was over, I was like, oh shit, I've peaked way too soon. Like, what the hell am I going to do after this? I can't go back to normal life. So instead of sending these Gillette executives an email begging them to keep working with me, I sent them a video. I just said, hey, watch this, to show them, not tell them why they should. And it worked. Within an hour, we heard back from the vice president of Gillette, and we were able to transition from contest winners to their on-camera host and spokesman at baseball all-star games, Super Bowls, huge events around the country for the next 2 years. And that sort of started my journey in working with a lot of different brands as well, because when you do work with a brand, call it Conference Call City, you're working with marketing agencies and ad agencies and PR firms, and they're often feeder systems for other. I was able to do a lot of that, and it's been a lot of fun. That was definitely one of my most fun, crazy jobs and experiences, where I just felt like every day I was like, I'm getting paid to do this. This is like robbery. This is great.
Yeah, it's always a nice thing when that's the case. And, that seems like the start of that kind of trend. You worked for Tailgate 48. You bounced around different college campuses, kind of checking out the different, best tailgates, best places to eat, witnessing all these amazing games. And then doing it again as the Pizza Hut All-American. And, like you said, going to every, I believe, NCAA championship event. So if you kind of speak to that, it sounds like, you're a man of the country and a man that, travels and, gets all these amazing experiences. But, yeah, I'd love to hear more about that and, drop some advice for, different students here that are trying to do the same and, that are interested in sports, interested in travel, because, you really have those two things combined, and you seem to have figured it out, if I'm going to be honest.
Oh, well, I don't know if I've figured it out, but I figured out how to have fun for a living, and I'm definitely doing that. I'm very lucky. What's up, Phil? What's up, Adam? I see some friends here. What's up, everybody? I've had a lot of these crazy adventures. One of them was with pizza, as you mentioned. They're the official pizza of the NCAA, and to commemorate their first year doing that, they named me the Pizza Hut All-American, where they sent me across the country to every single NCAA championship in 1 year. 33 of them, from the Final Four and College World Series and college football to bowling, fencing, water polo, track and field, swimming and diving, 33 different sports. It was a crazy experience. It was a lot of fun. I mean, and something that no one else has ever done before or probably ever will do again. And I'm glad I got to do that and experience it. It's a great way to see the country when a brand is paying for it, for sure. And my favorite thing about sports, honestly, isn't just the 2 or 3 hours you're in a stadium or in an arena. It's the culture and the community around sports. It's the traditions, it's the food, it's the scene, it's the travel, it's all that stuff. So I don't know, that's sort of been like a niche that I've tried to carve out, is being myself, and I'm just a genuine excited sports fan, and being, you know, a fan as opposed to just an impartial broadcaster. I like covering everything that goes into being a fan of sports. And that was another example of a really fun experience that I got to have doing that. Just, again, putting myself out there, hustling, following up, following through, all that stuff.
I'm curious, which championship event or the championship game, which one was your favorite?
Well, I'm a huge basketball fan, so the Final Four is my favorite, but that's obvious. The less obvious one is the Women's Beach Volleyball Championship is amazing. It's in Gulf Shores, Alabama. They call it the Redneck Riviera. It's on the beach. It's beautiful, and it's really cool. I mean, the sport, beach volleyball, is really fun, 2-on-2, but you're also, like, the whole crowd is in sandals and a bathing suit and lawn chairs on the beach watching it. And they do it where it's, you know, a match goes on, like the 1 seed from USC versus the 1 seed from UCLA, 2-on-2 playing in a best out of 5. So they'll play a match in best out of 5, but there's 5 courts happening. So UCLA versus USC, it's like the 1s, the 2s, the 3s, the 4s, the 5s. They're all happening at the same time. So you kind of run between courts, and it's best 3 out of 5 of all of those matches, and each match is best 3 out of 5. So there's like so much going on at the same time. And as it gets closer and closer, and like, oh, UCLA won here, USC won here, it's like it could all come down to like the 5 seeds, like the lowest seeds, and everyone huddled around this court because it's like the final game, the final points, and will determine the whole thing. It's a really cool energy at that one.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And a similar thing, I'm curious, you know, the Tailgate 48 for the Big Ten Network. One, how did you kind of land that gig? And then two, you know, explain to you know, the crowd and also myself, I'm curious, you know, how did that kind of go? Did you get there for it was all the football games, I'm assuming? You got there what day? You know, what were the kind of events leading up? And then obviously, you know, check out the tail game, different places to eat, best tailgates, and then the game itself. So I'm curious, you know, what kind of routine you had going on during
that was another really fun job. I prepared for 4 years of tailgating at Syracuse. My buddy Mike Warren, who just joined, that got me ready. Yes, thank you. This is a new beard. I appreciate that, Mike. So that job was a lot of fun. I mean, it's hard to even call it a job. It was a show I hosted on the Big Ten Network for 2 seasons. Tailgate 48, basically the ultimate food and travel show about sports. If you had 48 hours on each college campus, the weekend of their biggest game of the year, I show you where to do, how to live it up. So before, like Ohio State, Michigan, on campus, and I would go to all the best restaurants, diners, late night spots, all the best tailgates before the game, interview players and coaches from other teams and from other sports, you know, at that school, and then be on the field for the game. It was nuts. And it was a crazy turnaround. So we would do it every week. We would fly in on Thursday. We'd get in Thursday night. We would film all day Friday and all day Saturday. Obviously, college football is Saturday. So Friday would be lots of like food stuff. Maybe we talk to the basketball team, other places, you know, a lot of fun. What's up, Adam? Big Ohio State fan, which I'm an Ohio State fan too. I'm from Ohio, and that was my favorite school. We can get into all the Big Ten schools if you want to, you know the inside scoop on all of them. And we'd film all day Friday, and then through Friday night, and then Saturday morning we would wake up super early, sometimes 5 a.m., 6 a.m., because at a lot of schools the tailgates start that early. Because at some schools the games kick off at noon. There was like a 10 a.m. game we went to once, right? So it was crazy. So we'd start real early tailgating, filming at all the tailgates on the field for the game, and then the episode usually wrapped whenever the game was over. So we would do some like wrap up and then fly out usually first thing Sunday morning and start all over again. The show would then air a couple days later. So we would bring editors with us who would be editing as we're filming, and it would air, I don't remember, Tuesday or Wednesday, and we would start the process all over again the next Thursday and travel in and out. It was got a lot of airline miles out of that, and had a lot of fun, and definitely been spoiled. It's hard to go to a college football game now, just like paying for my ticket and being in the stands after living like that.
No, I can imagine. I'm curious, similar question to the last one with the NCAA finals. What was the best tailgate, and then what was the best game you saw across those 2 seasons?
So yeah, for Tailgate 48, the best tailgate scene in the Big Ten was all Big Ten schools. The best tailgate scene is University of Nebraska. They get there like days in advance, all in their RVs. I mean, they're literally like camped out tailgating starting Wednesday or Thursday for a game on Saturday. It's pretty intense and crazy meat. It's crazy. And in Nebraska, on game day, the stadium itself, Memorial Stadium, becomes the third largest city in the state of Nebraska. If you did the population, of the stadium itself, so that's like the only show in town. So it's a huge deal. The most fun school, I think, is probably University of Wisconsin. That place is crazy. It's a lot of fun. It's a beautiful campus, and I love all their traditions. I love the food, the vibe, the energy. That was probably the most fun. And then, of course, I'm partial to Ohio State because I'm from Cleveland and I grew up an Ohio State fan, and I would often talk about it on the show too. So at all these college campuses, they were like, playing the Big Ten Network on loop all the time. So a lot of people would recognize me and know that I was an Ohio State fan. So I was treated pretty well when I would come back to Columbus.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, that must have been a blast, especially, being from Ohio, seeing all those awesome matchups. And yeah, Ohio State, they usually do a pretty good job, generally in the football season, to say the least. But, you like someone that brings high energy, a lot of, you explained they did the Butterfingers comedy, kind of comedy skits, comedy tour. I'm curious, what kind of things do you try to go into when you're filming? Is there a checklist of things, you want to make sure you do when you're filming, or, like different kind of interviews you're trying to have? I guess, what's your method to your, madness when you're on, like, doing different events?
Yeah, well, I guess it just depends on what the event is, who I'm talking to, what the tone is called for. Sometimes when they're live events, I really got to bring the energy, because that's sort of like, it's also being an MC and rallying the crowd, getting people hyped and excited, being a hype man. Sometimes if it's a sit-down interview or one-on-one, it's just about trying to get people to tell stories they never had before, set them at ease, make them feel comfortable, not make them feel like they're being interviewed and they're talking to a camera, just talking to another person, just being authentic. It really depends on what the job is, what it's called for. When I work with brands, it's about being entertaining and funny or compelling content first and foremost, but also coloring inside the lines, because there's often like a brand message that I have to get across or weave into. And I like the challenge of how to do that in a way that feels organic and not forced. So it totally varies, and especially someone like myself who does so many different things, where I've done traditional sideline reporting for sports, I've done brand content, the comedy videos, interviews, MC stuff. They all sort of call for a different energy and a little bit of a different skill set. So it's really just about assessing, what the environment calls for, and how to bring that type of energy for that crowd.
Makes sense. So I guess, you've had this, amazing career so far, and I'm curious, you've been kind of in and around the industry since you're in high school, and then obviously through Syracuse, got out, made your documentary, you've traveled the nation. Now, how do you think you've seen and currently seeing, the changes in the media industry, especially around sports? Right now, obviously, you're have a show on Twitch, you have a podcast with Baron Davis. I'm curious to hear your stance on the current changes in the industry, and then I guess if you could look into the future 5-10 years, what do you think is going to be different and new in the new trends? If you could kind of hit on some of that.
Well, I just think there's so many opportunities to create content for yourself, to not wait for an opportunity to fall in your lap or be given the keys to just do it. Look at what you're doing right now. I mean, you're getting great guests, you're bringing them together, you're interviewing them, you're creating content, and hopefully, you're building an audience and a following of people who are into it. It's like, that's really the key. Just like make it yourself, and people are getting recognized more and more from social media platforms, whether it's Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, whatever. Something I don't even know about, building up an audience and a following and having a point of view and a message, and it's just start creating. And that's, you don't have to wait to graduate college to do that, as you're proof of that. You're in school right now and you're already doing it. It's just start something and create content and build and follow up and just try to grow it every day or every week, every month. And good things come from that. I always have said nothing bad ever comes from creating content. It might not pay off, you might not go viral or get discovered, but you're going to learn something. You're going to get more repetitions in, at least. Nothing bad ever comes from creating something, if that's the space you want to be in. So that's really the number one thing I would recommend, is just do it yourself, create content, put it out there. I'm a bit of a perfectionist, and sometimes that holds me back from starting because I want it to be perfect. But just jump in, dive in, start something and build, and try to improve every single day, and good things will happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's definitely true. I think, with the whole COVID and the pandemic, everything's kind of, had to be, at home, and people are creating content, more often, and it's definitely transitioned very quickly into a digital space. I'm curious, how did COVID affect, your line of work and what you do, and what opportunities did it open up for you, and how did you kind of take advantage of those?
Oh man, COVID sucked for all of us, but it was really hard. For someone like myself who works with a lot of brands, who does a lot of live sports and live events. I remember March of 2020, I think it was March 11th, I had 18 different phone calls and emails, jobs that I had booked for March, April, May, June, so on, canceled, just evaporated. And that was really tough. I took it pretty personally. It felt like the world was conspiring against me for the first couple of days, and soon I realized, obviously, everyone was in this boat and feeling the effects of all of our world stopping in so many different ways. I can't imagine what it would have been like to be in school and have that taken away, and those experiences. And I mean, everyone has a story. But it was really hard and not fun. I had some really fun things planned, tours across the country, more things with brands, a lot with the NBA, a lot of fun stuff that just went away. So I kind of grieved and mourned that for a few days. I was pretty bummed about it. But after that, things started to come back virtually, where I hosted a lot of virtual concert series and interviews and talks and game shows. And actually one thing that I did was pretty fun. So I love game shows. I've hosted some game shows, and I would often host like game night for friends and family pre-COVID, where they would come over, instead of just playing Settlers of Catan or some crap, I would actually host like the Newlywed Game or Family Feud, and take the gigs where I can get them, right? So I'm hosting all these shows, and I was like, during COVID, I was like, I feel like people would want something like this virtually. So I partnered with a friend of mine. He started a company called Quarmega, like quarantine with a Q. You can check it out, Quarmega Trivia. And it's basically an online Jeopardy game show platform that you use via Zoom. And we've done this for hundreds now of different brands, different companies, families, reunions, bachelor parties, engagement parties, all different occasions. A really fun way to break up the monotony of Zoom, which we're all so sick of, and to do it where you have like an actual legit game show host hosting your event, whatever it is, and tailoring it to you. So new businesses like that have sort of spawned out of this need and necessity during COVID, and that's been a lot of fun. But I certainly have missed the energy of just being together with people. I love that more than anything else. I just love bringing people together, being with people. And while the Zoom and what we're doing right now is great, it's not the same as being there in person. So I'm glad that the world is now starting to safely open back up again. But I do think that there will be a virtual component that stays alongside it, that won't go away. Like you see the MLB All-Star weekends going on right now, or All-Star Week going on right now. All these brands spend a lot of money for these live activations at FanFest and all that. I really think a lot of these brands are going to find a way to do that for the people who can be there in the city of whatever the event is, but also have some sort of virtual component as well, so that people, baseball fans, basketball fans, whatever the event might be, that they can participate too in a compelling way.
Agreed. And yeah, I mean, obviously COVID, what a, tough and horrible time for so many, but has definitely, changed, and there's so many new kind of trends and, things that are going to stick around. And as, sports, business industry people, there's definitely a lot of, opportunities and different things, to learn, take away, and, take advantage of as we move forward. One of those things being podcasts and, being different virtual things. So, can you speak about, your, Twitch show with the Dallas Mavericks and your podcast with Baron Davis, and, what you're currently working on and, are looking to do in the future?
Yeah, for sure. So I've known Baron Davis for a couple of years now. He's hilarious, and he's just so connected in so many different worlds, from obviously the NBA world, but also the community here in Los Angeles, in the tech and entrepreneurship space, in entertainment and comedy and music. I mean, he's just like so plugged in and tapped in. We were always crossing paths and wanted to find a way to work together. And he had never done fantasy basketball before, but he's being an investor, invested in a fantasy sports company called Sleeper. It's an app. It's really cool. Most people, when they do fantasy, do like Yahoo or ESPN, but obviously Yahoo and ESPN do a lot of other things. Sleeper is an app. They just focus on fantasy sports. So we put together a celebrity fantasy basketball league and started a podcast around that throughout the NBA season that we did. Started virtually, now it's in person again because we're back to doing that again. But it's sort of morphed from just fantasy sports, just talking basketball and culture and all things about it. We always have really fun guests, and that's a once a week thing we do every Monday, and it's been a blast. But just being in Barron's universe, there's always like fun projects that we're working on together popping up. So that's been really cool. And I don't know if you're a collector of anything, but during the last year or so of COVID, the collectibles space has just like blown up, from basketball and baseball and football cards to NFTs like NBA Top Shot is one that's taken off, or sneakers, sneakerheads, jerseys, autographs, ticket stubs. All this stuff has just blown up. So the Dallas Mavericks wanted to start a Twitch channel. They didn't have one, and they wanted to do something in the collectibles space. So they hired me to help them with both those initiatives, and we started a show on their Twitch channel called Mavs Vault, which we do every Wednesday. We got a great guest tomorrow night, Buster Shear. He's the founder of Hoops Nation, big influencer in the collectible space, is going to come on, and we have on a lot of current Mavs players, former Mavs players, and people in this collectible world, like one of the heads of Panini Trading Cards or NBA Top Shot, or various different people. And we do lots of really fun giveaways. We give away cards, autographed memorabilia, jerseys, all sorts of fun stuff. So it's worth checking out. It's on the Dallas Mavericks Twitch stream, and if anyone follows me, Jay-Z Fish, I post about it every week when we do it. You can check it out. But that's been really fun. And then I'm gearing up to launch my own podcast in the next couple of months as well, which is something that for years I've thought about doing. And it's kind of the imposter syndrome. I've always talked myself out of it. I'm like, why do I need a podcast? Everyone has a podcast, It's like, give me a break. But from doing this with other people, I've realized I do have a point of view, a perspective, and a pretty fun, interesting network of guests that range from the sports world to entertainment to music to marketing and advertising. And I think I have an ability to get people to open up and tell stories that they never have before. So it's called In the Zone, and it's coming soon. Stay tuned, follow me, and I'll keep everyone posted. But I'm really excited about it. It's going to be pretty cool.
That's great. Yeah, no, I think that's awesome. And I think you're going to do a great job with that. I mean, you have such an awesome personality. You're connected. You'll bring out some awesome guests, and I'm excited for that. And I've amassed a small baseball card collection. When I was a kid, that was the one thing that I'd ask for doing chores and stuff. So my mom would buy me the baseball card packs, and then my grandfather actually passed me down a bunch of his old baseball cards. So cool. I was looking at it back when I got home from Syracuse and checking that out. But yeah, it's crazy how big of an industry that's really becoming, especially with NFTs and all that. And it's such a cool space. And I think especially with the Dallas Mavericks. I mean, Mark Cuban, Cynthia Marshall, who we had on our conference last spring. They're such great and progressive minds, and they're really the current trends and what's going on. So it's great to see these teams aren't just focusing on what's going on in the court, but behind the scenes, what are different the fans interested in. So I think that's going to be really big in the next 5 to 10 years, and I'm really excited to see how that forms.
Totally. Yeah. I agree. It's blowing up, and it's interesting. It's a fun space, and it's not too late for people to get into it too. It's not just like something people are investing in, but it's nostalgic for a lot of people. It's all about storytelling. For me, basketball cards, jerseys, sneakers, autographs, they all are storytelling devices for certain moments in time.
No, definitely. I couldn't agree more. And I think there's a real opportunity in them. And kind of touching back on your Cuse days, you're repping the Syracuse shirt right now. what was there a certain class, teacher, friends, what was, really influential and, increase your interest in, broadcast digital journalism and, teaching you, how to do it well, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, just the environment, being around so many friends who were in the same major, in the same, wanted to be in the same industry, people to collaborate with, not just waiting for like school assignments to be assigned work to do, but to rent out cameras at the cage, and I would just do this for fun to fuck around sometimes. Like I would do comedy videos. I did one, would have a buddy shoot it and another buddy help me edit it, where we would go out like on some of those crazy Syracuse nights and January or February where it's like 10 degrees, if that, and girls are dressed like they're going to the Academy Awards or something, or spring break, and it's like, how is this even possible? So I decided to rent equipment and like do like, we're on the red carpet at the bar, outside the bars at, Lucy's and Chuck's and Harry's. I don't even know if they're around anymore, but like these places, and make comedy videos. And I did a bunch of different things. I did like a rock, paper, scissors challenge at 2 a.m. or 1 a.m. whenever the bars close, as people are out on the street, having them spin this wheel of destiny, rock, paper, scissors, and just do like drunk, like belligerent stuff. I don't know. It's just like having fun. But the fact that at Syracuse, there's so many people to collaborate with and so much incredible equipment that's just at your fingertips that you can use. I didn't wait for assignments to create stuff. I just did it on my own. And I think that's a great thing that I learned about myself, that I can just make stuff. And like I said earlier, you make content, good things happen. So that was one lesson. And then I had a lot of great professors that I really loved. A few that stand out were Professor Nicholson, broadcast journalism, John Nicholson, and Professor Chris Toohey was a great professor of mine. I really loved him. Professor Dubin, Richard Dubin, I took his class, loved him. And Dr. Rick Wright, he was the radio guy who's hilarious. It felt like he's always on with Dr. Rick Wright, like he's always broadcasting 24 hours a day. It was just fun. It was just a fun environment to be there, a great school, great sports scene. I loved my time in Syracuse for sure. But I live in LA now because I was freezing.
Yes, this is true. It is cold, and when there's a sunny day, you got to cherish it at the great Syracuse University.
For sure. I do miss the Syracuse spring though, when it's like 50 degrees for the first time and everyone's like laying out and wearing shorts and t-shirts, and it's like it's still actually freezing, but it feels so warm. I miss that.
Yeah. No, we got I guess there's a silver lining. We had to stay home for an extra week for winter break, so it pushed us back, and we got an extended Syracuse spring.
Oh, that's nice.
By the end, kind of everything started opening up, so that was awesome. But I guess continuing the Syracuse trend for the students in the room, what kind of advice would you give broadcast digital journalism major, or someone who's looking to have a career similar to yours, where they're producing content, pushing out content, really making a brand for their own self, but also helping these even bigger brands do well in this ever evolving atmosphere that is the media world?
I mean, the biggest pieces of advice I would say are just to create content on your own. Don't wait. Just put stuff out there, make stuff, and to reach out to people. It's so easy nowadays with social media, with everything that's available at Syracuse and Newhouse. To just how you got in touch with me. Just reach out to people, and it can open a lot of doors and opportunities for you that you might have thought were unattainable or too hard to get to, but it's really not that hard. So just put yourself out there. What's the worst that can happen? That's sort of a good example of my Adam Silver story too, is that it's like, what's the worst that can happen? I get kicked out of that seat, I can go back to my nosebleed seat. Adam Silver says, I get out of here, I leave. Like, who cares? It's like, you're not going to get in trouble. So there's really no harm in just putting yourself out there, making content, reaching out to people, and good things happen from doing all those things.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think, and it definitely seems like throughout your career you've done that and done it well. I'm going to open the floor up to questions. There's a button down below to throw questions in. I do have a question from a fellow member on the Syracuse Sport Business Conference team, from Alex Guo. He's curious, was there a mentor that you looked up to, helped you through your journey And are you a mentor for somebody right now in order to pay it forward is Alex Guo's question.
Yeah, totally. Tons of mentors. I mean, I've had so many just from doing that thing I was talking about with like the networking, meeting 10 people, 20, 40, 80, and growing. And I mean, I could list a bunch of them, but I literally have probably 10 or 15 different mentors in different spaces and industries. And they've opened a lot of doors, made a lot of connections for me, especially early in my career when I was just looking for a break or how do I get an agent or things like that. And, you know, there was a lot of people to help me, and I still turn to them for advice and, you know, keep in touch. And I always try to do the same for other people. You know, I've had a lot of interns from Syracuse come work with me, some for a couple weeks, some for months at a time. I just had a great one. She just graduated from Syracuse. Her name is Izzy Tabbs. She was awesome, and big shout out to Izzy. And I try to be a mentor and, you know, serve, give advice and feedback to anyone who reaches out to me. I'm always down to give the time to them because so many people did that for me. And, you know, I keep in touch with so many people who I've met with to see how they're doing. But I always put it on them. It's like it's on me to follow up with people who mentor me, to let them know what I'm up to and follow up with them. And likewise, the people who I mentor, it's like I check in on them, but like it's up to them to follow up with me. And we've, you know, built that relationship where anything I can always do to help, I do, to make introductions, connections, and offer advice where I can. It's definitely important to do that, to pay it forward.
No, absolutely, for sure. And, you know, no, that's all great advice. Jack Adler is curious, if you could go back in time and change one thing about your career, what would it be?
I mean, probably I just, you know, I said I'm starting a podcast soon, and because for a few years I've been like, why do I need a podcast? Who cares? Everyone has a podcast. Getting that voice out of my head and just doing it sooner, you know, starting these things sooner. That's it's not a regret, but that's something I would do differently. Is I would have, what I'm about to launch, I would have launched it 2 or 3 years ago and see where it is now. A good friend of mine is Lewis Howes. You might have heard of him. He's got a very successful podcast. I remember meeting with him in a coffee shop. I was giving him advice on like how to launch his podcast. Now he has one of the probably 10 biggest podcasts in the world. And, you know, I'm not saying that I would be at the level of Lewis, my friend. He's incredible what he does. But had I started around the same time doing something like that, it would have been somewhere, you know, much greater at this point. So that would be the only thing I would say. I have no regrets about anything, but just starting something sooner, not talking myself out of doing them.
Yeah, no, totally fair. Another question that's popped up in the chat, and you touched on this a little, you know, briefly before, but, you know, how did your time at Syracuse prepare you for building your career once you graduated?
You know, Syracuse, my time at Syracuse taught me about time management more than anything else, because when you're in college, like, you want to have fun, you want to party, you want to hang with friends, you've got all this freedom, but you also have a lot of work and responsibility, and that's life, you know, that doesn't stop. So it taught me how to manage my time, how to prioritize certain things, how to put work first at times, how to put friends first at times, or relationships, or different things like that. And those are valuable life skills that I feel like you really learn and come into your own through those 4 years of college. So that was probably the biggest thing, the biggest takeaway from my time at Syracuse, time management. But then also, to me, the most valuable part of Syracuse is the network, the people who came before you and the people who will come after you, like, you know, yourself, and staying in that community. And that has been very valuable. When I first moved to LA, Syracuse, it's like a fraternity out here in Los Angeles. And you get recognized, you get time and attention, especially from a lot of other grads who are doing big things in this business because you went to Syracuse. It opens a lot of doors.
Yeah. And, you know, we're so lucky to have this, you know, amazing network that is the, you know, Syracuse community, Syracuse network. You know, everyone's very generous and with their time and with, you know, hopping on calls and helping us, especially, you know, working with the Sports Business Conference, reaching out to, you know, people such as yourself, and, you know, many others. It's been great to see, and I'm excited, you know, pay that forward once I move on to whatever I do in my career. I'm curious, before we wrap it up, who do you have winning the NBA Finals?
I think the Phoenix Suns are going to win in 6, maybe 7 games. I want it to go 7 games because I just love basketball and I want as much basketball as possible. I think the Bucks are going to win tomorrow night, Game 4, to tie it up. But I do think the Phoenix Suns, their chemistry, their team, and just when their backs are against the wall, the Chris Paul, it just feels like their time this year. That's my prediction, but we'll see.
Yeah, they got a good squad. D-Book, Chris Paul, DeAndre Ayton's, emerge as a, young, amazing star.
Yeah.
I guess have fun at your watch party tomorrow night. Say hi to the truth for me. I would appreciate that.
Yeah, I will. If Paul Pierce shows up, I'll be there. I'll say what's up for you. I'm hosting this party with Baron Davis. It's going to be a lot of fun, a lot of NBA people. So anyone in LA, hit me up.
Yeah, I wish I was closer by. I would definitely be hoping to swing by. But
Yeah.
hey, I really appreciate you hopping on. I guess any last wise words of wisdom for people listening in, tuning in that you wish you would have heard as you graduated college or were a young professional.
Just put yourself out there and then follow up and follow through. That's it. And work hard and be nice to people. That's, really, it's that simple. Just like be a hard worker and be nice to people, because an intern today could be a CEO or your boss tomorrow. This industry changes very quickly, and it's just easy to be nice. It's easier to be nice to people and treat everyone with respect, no matter where they are in their career, because it all comes around full circle.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. But hey, Jason, I want to thank you so much for hopping on the digital series. We appreciate, your time and all the wise words you shared with our listeners. Look forward to keeping in contact and speaking in the future. And, to thank everyone for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed it. Until next time, this has been the Syracuse Sport Business Conference digital series.
All right. Thanks. Go Orange.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jason.
Cool.
Have a good one.
Later.